And welcome to the very first Java review, where we learn to program everything that we've learned in the past 10 tutorials. So let's get started. Alright, in the last 10 tutorials, as a memory refresher, we learned about printing things, we've learned about variables, we've learned about scanners, so asking users for input, we've learned about arithmetic, we've learned about methods, we've learned about if statements and operators, as well as while loops. And in this review, we're going to be building a program that will sum up everything that we've learned in the past 10 tutorials. Let's get started. So let's create a new class, as always. And I'm going to name my class Buying Fruits, because that's the class, that's the kind of program we're going to make. It's about buying fruits. So I'm just going to write a little comment in the beginning telling you what exactly this program is going to be doing. So comments, as always, starts like this. Alright, so as stated in the comments, this program allows users to buy apples and oranges, and then they can proceed to checkout. Alright, so before we begin writing this class, let's specify all the things we need to do. So I'm going to put it all in comments. So we definitely need a main method somewhere in here. We need a method called buy apples method. We also need another method that is called buy oranges, so users can buy oranges. We need a method for checking out, so checkout method, as well as let's allow users to clear their entire basket. So remove all the items from their list, and we can do something like clear basket method. Okay, so let's start with the main method first, because that's the easiest thing to do. So public static void main, string of arguments, as always. All right, so what do we need to put inside the main method? Let's start with printing out. Okay, so let's give users some options. So follow what I do, and I'll explain to you exactly what it is. Okay, so in this line, I'm just printing out, please select an option below. And then in the next line, let's give the user some options. So what are some options? Well, they can buy apples, that's one option. They can buy oranges, that's another option. They can clear their basket, that's another option. And they can check out, which displays to them the total cost of all the items. So check out, print their checkout. And finally, the last option you should give the user is an option to exit the program. So I'm just gonna write here. So for buy apples, let's print out, okay, let's give them option 1, buy apples. Okay, that's all we need to do. System.out.println, buy apples. Okay. Second option we can give to them is to buy oranges. Alright, that's taken care of. Third option is to print out clearing the basket. So clear basket. And then the next option is for checking out. So check out. And, oh, whoops, I forgot to number them. 3, 4. Finally, we print out an option for users to exit program. All right, so now that we have these 5 options, let's let users know what their total is. So in the end here, after exit program, I'm going to do a slash or a backslash n. What a backslash n means is it'll automatically skip a line. So it'll skip an extra line. So it's the same thing as printing out nothing, because it just skips a line. Okay, and in the end, we want to display to people the total cost of their basket. So we can just say total cost and then plus total. So if you can see here, total has not been defined yet. Is a variable that we have not defined yet, and we will need to do that. The next step here is to define all the variables that we need. And normally when we define variables, we've usually done it inside this main method. But this time, I'm going to show you a different way. I'm going to scroll back up, and I'm going to define my variable here. So total is a double because it's going to contain decimals. So let's do static double total equals 0. And once I do that, the error right here is gone because I've defined the variable total. And so when you start off the program, the total, so the basket is empty, so the total is 0. And oh, whoops. All right, so we say the total cost, we can add a $sign to indicate how much money how much money that person needs to pay. All right, so if you notice here, static. Why did I need to put static in front of double? Well, if I remove it, okay, say if I remove it, then Java's going to give me an error when I look back at the main method, because it says here, cannot make a static reference to a non-static field total. Which means that since my main method is a static method, everything inside it must be static as well. And that includes the variables, the methods, etc. So total here needs to be static. I'm not going to explain to you like in depth why you need to put static at this point, but I definitely will in my future tutorials. But for now, just leave it as static. And assume that everything in this tutorial needs to be static, including the methods. Okay, so what do we need to do next? Let's define a variable that tells or that defines the price of an apple. So we can do static double apple cost, and let's say it's 175. All right, and same thing for oranges. Static double orange cost, and let's say it's $2. All right. Okay, that's it for now. So let's start with the buy apples method. So as we normally do, when we make a method, it starts with public static void, and let's call this method add apples, because we want to add apples to the cart. All right. So here's our empty method, and add apples. Okay, so what do we need to put inside the add apples? When users buy apples, let's ask them how many they want to buy. So outside here, I'm gonna write scanner input Remember, that's how we create a scanner object. Scanner system dot in. All right, Java's giving me an error because whenever we use a scanner, we always have to import the Java scanner object. So import java.util.scanner. There, now that error is gone. So I'm going to teach you something that I didn't teach you in the past tutorials. So why do we need to define these variables and the scanner object outside of the main method? So why did I do that? Well, if you define your variables outside of your main method, outside of your add apples method, outside of all these other methods, then all these methods can see and access this variable, or all these variables up here. So remember when I said in one tutorial, anything that happens in a method stays inside a method. So if all these variables were created inside the main method class, then only the main method can see them. But notice how we created an apple cost variable here that also needs to be viewed by the add apples, because we need to add the amount of apples multiplied by the apple cost and add it to the total. So if you see variables outside of methods, these variables are called global variables, which means that all methods can see them. Okay, so now that we've got that figured out, let's start writing our add apples method. So what do we need to do first? We need to ask users how many apples they would like to buy. Okay, and as always, to do that, you would need to create a new variable. So I'm gonna say int number of apples equals input. Oh, sorry. I have to, first of all, I have to print out how many apples would you like to buy. And then you ask, and then the user types in. So how do we accept a user's input? We make a new variable. So int number of apples equals input dot next int, which means scanner static. Okay, right, everything needs to be static. All right, so the input is going to be an integer, so that's okay. And then what we want to do is we want to, so since the total is 0 right now, we want to add the number of apples multiplied by the apple cost, and then take that and add it to the total. So remember we learned about the, so if I type in total plus equals the number of apples multiplied by the apple cost. Okay, so what does this mean? This means that since the total was 0 before, now it's gonna equal number of apples multiplied by the cost of an apple, and it'll add that on to the existing total. So remember we learned about this in our operators tutorial. Okay, so that's pretty much the gist of how you write the add apples method. Now you can pretty much do the exact same thing for the buy oranges method. So let's go ahead and write that. Public static void add oranges. All right, and again, comments are nice. Users like to buy. Okay, so first print out how many oranges okay, and we create a new variable. And then in the end, we want to add the number of oranges multiplied by the orange cost to the total. So it would be number of oranges multiplied by the orange cost. Capital. Oh, sorry. I should probably change this to a capital. Right, there we go. So yeah, so lowercase and uppercase matters for Java. So Java is case sensitive. So if you have a variable, so like when I had this variable right here, number of oranges, then this variable is different from this variable because in this one it had the lowercase o in the of, and this one had the uppercase o for the of. So therefore Java recognizes it as two different variables, and since we want to use them both as the same variable, we would have to make them have the same name. So I just make this uppercase. All right, and just gonna make a comment here and add oranges. Okay. How about the clear basket method? All right, what do we want to do here? We want to clear the basket, and what that means is you just want to make the total equals 0. So this one should be very simple. Clear basket. All you have to write in here is total now equals 0. So that everything's cleared, returns back to the beginning, total is 0. So this one should be fairly easy. And clear basket. All right, and finally, in the checkout method, what we want to do is just, let me write the method first. Public static void check out. And then end checkout. All right, so what do we want to do here? We want to display to users the total cost. Yeah, that's it. So display users total cost. So we can do something like println the total cost of your purchase is, and then plus, and then you just do total. And we can just have a $sign right here. It's total. All right, and we can also add another line saying, okay, thank you for shopping here. Okay, so that's a checkout method. You just display the total. All right. Okay, so let's test our program out. So I'm going to press run. Okay. And okay. So you see here, please select an option below. And it's just going to print out everything that we have in the main method. Oh, wait, but it terminated, which means that the program is over. So no matter what you type in, nothing's going to happen. And what we forgot to do was ask the user which option they would like to select. So right now, all we've done is print out all these statements, but we never asked the user what option they would like to select. So let's ask the user for the option. So ask user to select option. And we gave them 5 options, right? The first was buy apples, buy oranges, clear basket, checkout, or exit program. So let's, again, we need to write a new variable to store the user's input. So int result, which is what the user selected, will equal to input.next int. All right. Now here's where we need to put a bunch of if statements. So if result equals 1, and if the result equals 1, then we want the user to buy apples. And so all we need to do is refer back to this method here, add apples. So all we have to do is link it to option 1. So add apples, and that's it. All right. Else if the result equals to 2, then we need to do add oranges because our second option was buy oranges. All right. And else if result equals 3, then what's our third option? Clear the basket. Then we already had a method for that, which was clear basket right here. And so we can just write that, clear basket. And option 4 was checkout. So else if result equals 4, then we can just write checkout because that method was already defined. And finally, we just write else, which means I'm just gonna write a comma here. Else, so else user chooses any other integer besides 1 to 4. And when you do that, you just want to exit the program. Okay, let's test this. Let's test all these if statements out right now. So I'm just going to run the program. All right, and now it asks, please select an option below. And so let's say I want to buy an apple or buy 3 apples. I'm going to select option 1, enter, and then it goes back to the add apples method and asks me how many apples would you like to buy. I'm going to say 3. Okay, and then but that's the end of it. It says terminated. Why? Well, let's see our code. Okay, so we said we asked the main method to print all this stuff out, and then we said result equals input dot next int, which means result equals whatever the user typed in as the option. So since I selected buy apples, I entered 1, and so it went to here. If result equals 1, did it equal 1? Yes. Then run the add apples method. So it goes to the add apples method and it asks me how many apples would you like to buy. And then again, this is input.nextInt, which means like it stores how many apples I would like to buy, and I said 3, and then it would just total would equal the number of apples, which was 3 multiplied by the cost, which is 175. And then what happens? Well, I had nothing else after this if block of code. Therefore, the program ends. So what we want to do is we want to make a loop that continuously asks the user everything in here. So what this means is we want to wrap this entire thing inside a loop. And what's the only loop that we've learned? A while loop. So let's go ahead and add that. So up here, I'm just going to create a while loop. So while, and I'm just going to type this for now, is running. And I'll tell you why I did that. And then open brackets. And from here on, you need to highlight this entire block of code and press tab. Because when you press tab, everything indents. And then at the end, you need to have a closed curly bracket to end this while loop. So I'm just in here, I'm just going to write end while loop. Okay, so what does this while loop mean? Well, here I put while is running. What in the world is running? Well, I'm going to create a new variable called is running all the way up here. And I'm going to make it a Boolean. So this is finally a good demonstration to show you what good is a Boolean for. So static Boolean is running. And I'm going to set it to true. All right. And since this Boolean equals true, then I'll scroll back to the while loop. And here it says while is running. And if I just put is running, this is the same thing as typing in while is running equals true, then run this loop infinite times until until is running becomes false. Okay, so if I just erase equals true, it's exactly the same thing. So if I just put is running, then it'll mean that is running is true. So why did I name this boolean is running? Well, it just specifies that the program is running. So while the program is running, then run this loop infinite amount of times until I choose to exit the program. So here's where we need to end the loop. So for in this else statement right here, you need to exit. So how do we do that? Well, it's really simple. All you need to do is change the is running variable from true to false. And then once it equals false, and when it tries to loop back here, it's going to stop the while loop, and then the program's going to end. But before we change the is running boolean variable to false, let's let the user know that the program has ended. Otherwise, they wouldn't know, whether the program just stopped working or whatnot. So let's print to them the program has ended, just so that the user knows that the program has actually ended. Okay, so let's try this out. Okay. I press run. Okay. All right, so let's start. Please select an option below. I'm gonna buy apples, so do the same thing as I did before. Option 1, click enter. How many apples would you like to buy? 3. And now it tells me, please select an option below. So you see how it looped again and it asked me, but this time the total displayed here is 525 because 175 times 3 is 525. So I'm going to try it again and say I want to buy oranges this time, so 2. How many oranges would you like to buy? Well, let's see. I want to buy, let's say, 2. Now the total cost is $9.25. So because the orange was $2, $2 times 2 is $4. Added on to the total is $5.25. Is $9.25. So now let's try clearing the basket. Okay, say I don't want these oranges and apples anymore. I want to clear my basket. So I just go ahead and press 3 to clear the basket. And then there we go. The total cost is back to 0. All right, so let's try buying apples and oranges again. Let's go to 1. I want to buy 5 apples. Okay, equals $8.75. And then I also want to buy oranges. So I type in 2. How many oranges would I like to buy? I'll buy 3. Okay, the total is $14.75. Now let's try checking out. 4. Hey, but what happened? It says the total cost of your purchase is $14.75, which is true, which is right. And it says thank you for shopping here. But wait, it says here it loops again, which is not what we want, right? Because we want the program to end as soon as we check out. And what we forgot up here was in this checkout method, after checking out, we want to end the program. So like this else statement here, all we have to do is change is running from true to false. And once that's done, then the program will end by itself. So I'm just gonna terminate this program by clicking this red square here. And let's try running the program again. And this time it should be okay. So run buy fruits. Okay. So please select an option. I'm gonna buy 5 apples again. All right, how many apples would I like to buy? 5. Then I'm gonna buy oranges, and I'm gonna buy 6. So the total cost is $20.75. Now it's time to check out. So I'm gonna press 4. It says the total cost of your purchase is $20.75. Thank you for shopping here. And you see here that it says it's terminated. All right, so everything from 1 to 4 works. Let's try if I type in 5, which was exiting the program. Let's see if that works. So I'm going to start the program again, and I'm just going to try to buy some apples, 4 apples, buy 2 oranges, and I'm going to try exiting the program. So I don't want to use this program anymore. 5. The program has ended. Perfect. So this is a very simple example of a very simple program that uses everything that we've learned in the past 10 tutorials. So what did we have? We had printing statements, which we clearly had a lot of. So printing statements. We had variables, which we defined up here. Here. We had scanners, which we created the scanner here and we named it input. And we used it in things like the add apples method, such as asking users for the number of apples they would like to buy. Then there was also arithmetic, which you can see here. Number of apples multiplied by the apple cost will give us the total. And we had methods, which was we created 4 methods here. We had checkout, clear basket, add oranges, as well as add apples. We also learned about if statements, which we have in the main method. So if result equals 1, do this, result equals 2, do that. Then we also learned about operators, which were right here inside the add apples method, which we created the variable total, and it plus equals the number of apples multiplied by the apple cost. So there's your example for operators there. And finally, we learned about the while loop, which we did here. While is running, which continuously loops this block of code right here until we tell it to stop, which is when is running is false. So there you go. Here is a really simple program that uses everything that we've learned in the last 10 tutorials. And in the next tutorial, continuing on from tutorial 10, we'll learn about for loops. And that should be very simple since you learned what a while loop is. It's basically just, also a loop, but it uses different conditions. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Anyways, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and see you all next tutorial.